My name is Emilie Reid. I'm a college graduate, I'm a bank teller, a wildlife photographer, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and an overall successful member of society. I'm also an individual living with a mental illness. Looks can be deceiving, right? Most people, when they see my outward appearance, wouldn't think, she's mentally ill. But appearances can often be deceiving, especially nowadays. Most people's appearance, their faces, are covered partially with masks. Growing up, I would wear a different type of mask. I would put on a mask of a successful student, a happy child, a normal girl. But as I said before, appearances can be deceiving. And for years, I did a very good job at appearing to be okay, when really, I was struggling so hard internally. I noticed around middle school that I seemed different from my friends. I had a loving and supportive family, the best parents and sisters a girl could ask for. I had a small group of friends, and I always succeeded in school. I tried to feel happy, but I carried this darkness around with me. I had intrusive thoughts, suicidal thoughts. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live either. I felt like I didn't deserve to live if I couldn't appreciate all of the blessings in my life. I felt like I couldn't feel happy. I couldn't feel anything at all. Happiness, true happiness, seemed like an impossible goal to achieve. I could achieve straight A's so easily, but I couldn't get rid of these thoughts of suicide. I fought this internal battle and had no idea why I was feeling this way. It was very isolating and confusing as a teenager to feel this way. I felt like I couldn't tell my parents or my family what was going on because I thought that they wouldn't understand. I thought they would think that I was being ungrateful for the beautiful life that they had provided to me. And on the outside looking in, everything was fine. Everything, our appearance, showed the perfect family. So when I was in high school, I would see ads for depression on TV, and it showed the person suffering with depression holding a mask, a smiley face, in front of their face, and talking about the symptoms of depression, feeling hopeless, feeling alone, losing your interest in your passions. And I thought to myself, that really sounds like what I'm dealing with. But then I thought that depression wouldn't fit into this perfect mold that I was designed to fill. I was so eager to graduate high school, and I thought once I get to college, things will be different. I won't carry around my fake happiness mask anymore, and I will just be happy. I graduated high school with honors, and I went to High Point University. I continued to suffer with what I didn't know at the time was depression. I sometimes literally drowned my sorrows in alcohol, attending frat parties, and the social scene, getting blackout drunk, just to try and find a fleeting moment of happiness, a small bit of euphoria. But I would always end up crashing, and I would lead to isolating myself, disengaging from my friends, and just focusing on my studies. I always was a good student. The thing with depression is, it's not always constant. It comes and it goes. So there were times that I did feel really good. I even managed to study abroad twice. I graduated college with a dual degree in international business and French in 3 years at age 20. Quite an accomplishment. I always was an overachiever, and just like with high school, I thought as soon as I graduate college, things will be better. I will feel better. I began working almost immediately and made a small group of friends at work, other recent college graduates. It was nice to have a small little work family, but I couldn't shake that darkness. I still had to wear the mask of happiness and to hide how I was truly feeling inside. Over the next few years, I would struggle with periods of depression, isolating myself, gaining weight, not taking care of myself. And when the darkness would lift, then my energy would lift, and I would start to exercise and eat better and take care of myself and be more social, be more energized and lighter and happier. The summer of 2015 was transformative for me. I was always relatively quiet and shy, reserved person. However, that particular summer, something changed in me. There was a new spark, a spark of creativity, a spark of energy, a spark of sociability, a spark of confidence. It was fantastic. I had never felt better in my life. I thought, this is amazing. I feel incredible. I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. I'm confident. I am sexy. Life is incredible. Well, over a matter of months, that little spark grew into an unmanageable flame, and I morphed into this different version of myself that I didn't know existed inside of me. I spent thousands of dollars on jewelry, fancy dinners, clothes, everything that you can imagine, just to keep up with this new version of myself. I was sleeping way less, maybe 2 or 3 hours a night, while having more energy than before. I was experiencing racing thoughts. My mind was moving 1,000 miles a minute, and nobody could keep up. I befriended everyone I met, and I started to keep a log of their names and birthdays, thinking it was my duty to find some kind of special connection in this universe. I changed my appearance. I dyed my hair blue. I began wearing different clothes, more risky, inappropriate clothing, to work. I worked 3 jobs at the time. One was for an executive assistant to a billionaire, and while he was out of the office, I decided it would be an ideal time to have a yoga session in his office. And I had another employee take photos of me, and I got him to do yoga as well. My way of thinking completely shifted. I was very polarizing. Either you were with me or against me. And to my friends who truly knew me, they questioned this new version of myself. And as soon as they questioned me, I blocked their number and erased them from my life. I even fought with my family and my mom, who had always been so supportive of me. I began having inappropriate thoughts about nearly everyone. I seemed to be attractive to every adult that I came in contact with, and of course I thought it was all reciprocated because I was the most attractive person in the world at the time. I developed strange habits like walking around the streets of Manhattan barefoot and balancing water bottles on my head, and I did the same type of behaviors in my professional office that I worked at. I had grandiose ideas for my future, one day believing I would be a real estate mogul, and the next day believing I would be a painter in Central Park, painting and selling my paintings to all the visitors in New York City. That flame, that small spark that had been sparked in the beginning of the summer, kept growing and growing until I completely lost touch with reality. I arrived at Savannah International Airport with my sister on August 5th, 2015. My appearance at that time was completely disheveled. I was dirty, unkempt, and simply put, I looked crazy. My dad's immediate response when he saw me was, "Are you high?" And I happily replied, "No, Dad, I'm high on life." I was documenting everything at the time and trying to write down all of the racing thoughts that were going through my mind. I would try and close my eyes, but it was as if a movie was running through my head and fast forward, and I was completely overwhelmed. I couldn't just calm down. I couldn't relax. I couldn't stop thinking. After the most traumatic night in my family's life, with lots of screaming and crying and fear and pain, I agreed to go to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. I knew that something was amiss, but I didn't really want help, and I didn't really want that spark to be put out. After my psychiatric evaluation, I was involuntarily admitted to the psychiatric unit at Beaufort Memorial Hospital. I was experiencing severe mania and diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I spent 2 weeks at the hospital and was prescribed 4 medications, 1 for anxiety, 1 mood stabilizer, 1 antipsychotic, and 1 to help me sleep. Going from being on 0 medications my entire life to being on 4 psychotropic medications had a very adverse effect on my body. I ballooned probably 20 to 30 pounds in those 2 weeks at the hospital. From there, my parents drove me to Skyland Trail, which is a residential psychiatric rehabilitation facility. I spent 2 months there learning about the illness I had just been diagnosed with and trying to accept my new mentally ill identity. I had to mourn my old life, my old self. I was not going to be returning to New York City, out partying with friends and riding that manic high. I was going to be living in Hilton Head, a retirement community with no friends, no future, and no hope. My manic high plummeted me into the worst depression I had ever experienced. Even though I was surrounded by the loving support of my parents, I felt hopeless. I was overweight from the medications, and I thought my life would never get better, and I would be stuck forever in that dark depression unless I chose to end my life. I was seeing a psychologist at the time twice a week in the beginning of my recovery, and she asked me, "Emilie, what are you passionate about?" I wanted to laugh in her face. I wasn't passionate about anything. I just looked at her blankly. I hardly had the will to live, let alone have a passion. My first goal in recovery was to lose the weight. I thought when I lost the weight, I would be happier. So every day, my mom and I would go for a walk on the beach. And every day, I would think about what it would be like to just walk into the ocean and let the waves take me. I was still suffering with those dark, suicidal thoughts, but I never gave in to them. I just kept going. We started doing yoga every day, and slowly but surely, I lost 50 pounds. Losing the weight helped me regain a little bit of confidence, but it didn't shake those dark thoughts. The only joy that I could count on experiencing was seeing the sunset over the marsh or the sunrise over the beach. And it wasn't until I was really honest with my doctor that I was still experiencing those thoughts, and we changed up my medications, that now those thoughts are few and far between. Then I found NAMI, a group of like-minded individuals also working towards stability in recovery. I became more involved with NAMI over the years and decided to become a facilitator for the support group meetings. I also became a presenter for Ending the Silence, a program we offer to high school students to teach about mental health conditions. I thought if my story might be able to help somebody, a struggling teen, get help sooner, I'd be glad to share it. I went back to work full-time after just 7 months of being diagnosed with bipolar. I tried at 2 different jobs to work full-time. However, I realized the stress was too much and my illness was just becoming harder and harder to manage. I've accepted the fact that I can't work a full-time job traditionally, so I work part-time. I've also accepted that I don't have to live by society's definition of success in order for me to be successful. In December of 2016, my sisters got me my first camera, a Nikon D5300 with a 2-kit lens. I didn't know anything about photography, but I did know that I enjoyed watching the sunrise and the sunset, and I liked to capture those moments with my cell phone. In 2018, I moved to a house on the marsh with my parents, and I started to notice all the birds that would visit our dock and just glide so gracefully along the marsh, and I just began to take photos of them. I quickly noticed that I needed a bigger lens in order to capture any of the details of these beautiful birds. I spent most of my mornings and evenings at the dock with the wading birds or in the backyard with the songbirds. And as my interest grew, each time I would capture a new bird, I would research it and find out what type of bird it was. In 2019, I started working with a photography mentor, actually taking the time to learn about the basics of photography and how to get artistic with it. There are a couple of basic components to creating a beautiful image with a bird. Shooting in good light, the sunrise or sunset to get those magical colors we have here, and getting eye level with the subject, which means laying down in the sand or most times in the murky marsh water, and capturing a behavior to really give the image a sense of feeling. So just like there's a couple of components to creating a beautiful image, there's a couple of components that you need in order to have success with living with a mental illness. The reason that I am where I am today is due to the undying support of my family and also the treatment plan that I follow. I take medications, I go to therapy, I ensure that I get proper amount of sleep, I exercise, I eat well, and then I also leave myself time to do the things that I love, like photography, and spend time in nature, practicing piano. If someone were to ask me today, Emilie, what are you passionate about? I would immediately think of the birds and of the nature and beauty that surrounds us daily. I would think of photography, of yoga, of piano. I am passionate about living a life full of passion, experiencing all the emotions, the good and the bad that life has to offer. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned in my recovery is that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. I never put on my fake happiness mask anymore. I'm always honest about how I'm feeling because I know that if I'm struggling, I can get help. Appearances can be deceiving. Just because someone doesn't look crazy doesn't mean they aren't fighting an internal battle or thinking of ending their own life. I share my story to offer hope. I was once hopeless, but today I will never give up hope. One of NAMI's principles of support that I carry with me every day, even on my worst days, I never give up hope that tomorrow will be better. My challenge to you is to shed your mask. Stop hiding behind whatever it is you think you need to hide behind. And just be yourself, your true self. Don't judge anyone by their appearance. Acknowledge your faults and embrace your strengths, and live a life full of passion.